panelists on stage, please. Abhishek Ganguly, MD of Puma India. Kabir. Kabir is the MD of the Landmark Group in India. Mohini, who's the co-founder and head of retail of Rouge. Vinay Singh. Vinay is the MD of Max Hypermarkets, which runs the Spa brand of hypermarkets in India. And Vishal Mirchandani. Vishal is the CEO for retail and commercial for the Brigade Group. So great to have this panel with us. And to kick things off, I'm going to request Sriram to start with a presentation, and then we lead into the panel discussion.
Let me start with a small story. I live in Bangalore, and I go to Bombay often. I was in Bombay 10 days ago, and I stayed at the Taj Palace. And I went to the gym in the morning. I spent about 40 minutes there and came back to my room. And there was a glass of fresh lemon juice with a note from the manager saying, "We know that you've just had a workout. Here is a glass of fresh lemon juice to refresh and revive you." Now that is a wonderful customer experience that I will always take with me, right? Now, when we talk about customer experience, one of the things that we need to understand is that customer experience can drive sales. And if you look at data, people who experience amazing service can actually help you drive sales by 140% over customers who don't get great service. Customer service drives loyalty. Again, when you look at a subscription-based business where loyalty is essential and fundamental, you want people to keep renewing a subscription. People who rate companies high on customer service are highly likely to repeat. So 74% of customers who gave a high rating on customer experience are likely to remain with the company, as opposed to less than 20-25% that are likely to remain if they gave an average rating. So how do we earn trust and loyalty of our customers? It needs us to be first customer-centric in our approach. Our purpose, why we exist, does it involve customer centricity? Second, we need to have competence to deliver the great customer experience. And we need a strategy. We need to work with a plan to do this. Now, if you look at the difference between customer experience and customer centricity, customer experiences involve the what that the customers take away, whereas customer centricity provides the why that motivates companies to deliver great experiences. Now, if you look at customer experience from the company's point, there are 6 stages as mapped out by the Timken Group. The first stage is when companies ignore the importance of customer experience. The second stage is they say, maybe there's something there. Let me explore what I need to do to deliver customer experiences. Third is when they start mobilizing resources within the company to say, let me figure out how to deliver this set of experiences to my customers. Fourth is when they actually operationalize this. Fifth is when they align all aspects of the business to delivering this set of experiences that they want to deliver. And finally, the 6th stage is the embed stage. When companies deliver incredible customer experience without focusing too much on it, because every aspect of the business is aligned to delivering this. And that's where we need to be. So one of the questions for our panelists today is, where are they in this 6 stages? So what are the customer competencies that we need to have? The first one is leadership. If there is no will, there will be no way we can deliver great experiences. So our leaders need to walk the talk. They need to embody and reinforce customer-centric values. We need to actually have compelling customer centricity in the brand and what the brand stands for, including the voice of the customer. We need to ensure that voice of customer and customer experience metrics permeate and guide all aspects of our business. And finally, without employee engagement, we will not be able to deliver this. So internal service quality is the only way to delivering great customer experiences. Now, if you were to look at frameworks for delivering customer experiences, we need to actually look at the following. We need to look at the interactions, the activities in which customers engage with our business. We need to look at our touch points. What are the various touch points and how customers interact with us across these touch points. We need to look at our processes, procedures, systems, our business rules. Then we need to look at what kind of infrastructure we have to be able to deliver this. And when customers actually start, when companies start architecting their customer experience process, they need to actually start with experiences mind first, not with systems first. You need to figure out what your experience goal is going to be. Once you establish the goals, then you need to figure out what kind of interactions will deliver those goals, what kind of touch points, and what kind of procedures, and what kind of systems will help us deliver that. So we need to go outside in. We need to go customer in. We need to go experience in to our systems. And this takes commitment. This takes, this is a journey. It's not a destination. Yeah? And I'll leave you with this thought in the words of Tony Saya of Zappos. He says, people may not remember exactly what you did or what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So here is to helping you deliver great customer experiences that customers will remember you by. Over to our panel now. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a good lead-in, and I'm just going to, for discussion purposes, just raise a few questions, issues with our panel, and ask them to build on that, in terms of their own experience and what they believe is important. So the first question, and I'll really start with Kabir, is how important is this whole customer experience for, say, lifestyle? Can this be a key differentiator as we live in an increasingly discount-driven world of e-commerce?
Yeah, Raghu, I think there's no sort of debate whether customer service, customer experience is important. The question is, how do you sort of define as an organization what is great customer service, great experience? And how do you sort of go about in a methodical manner, sort of implementing what you believe is right? So my personal view is that for the last 4 or 5 years as a brand, we've done quite a few things right, but I think we are still really, really short of a great customer experience. And we've seen a huge amount of growth. We are almost growing, 25% CAGR for the last 5 years without having been able to do a lot on the customer experience side. So the way I interpret this is that for now, I think just the fact that we are probably offering a relevant product is good enough, is possibly the reason why the consumers who are coming to us are kind of forgiving for the parts that we are not doing so well. And my take is that the next wave of customer experience actually is going to be convenience. Convenience is kind of tangible, it's touchable, it's not something that is subjective, because I think there are certain things which are obvious. There is pressure on time. People now want everything instantly, products, the ability to pay. They want to be able to buy whenever they want, wherever they want. So I think it's become very, very clear that the whole sort of change in the digital space is going to move expectations from just merely buying product to convenience. And I think if we as an industry sort of get this part right, my feeling is that a lot of consumers will feel you're offering a good experience. There is just one thing that I wish to add, and I like that last bit, that customers actually decide what the experience is based on how they feel. I'm still not able to actually get a grip on what consumers actually wish from an experience. Most consumers actually, if you ask them, like, what is it that you really want? You'll get obvious answers like, I should find my products easily, I should be able to locate them easily, I should be able to, pay for it quickly, I shouldn't have to stand in long queues. But we find that over weekends, when actually there are fairly long queues, there are some customers who actually feel that the experience of the store is quite good. It's quite incredible that actually there are times when you actually have some pain points in consumers without realizing it, demonstrate that they are enjoying it. But when they speak about it, it's quite the opposite of what is actually happening. So my summary is, I think product is still king. Experience is subjective, but along with that, as I mentioned, the whole scope of improving convenience will have to be sort of considered, and I think that's the new form of experience.
So, Abhishek, if I throw the same question to you, except that you run your own stores, you also have a franchise network. So, how do you look at customer experience? Because whether it's your store or a franchisee store, for a customer, that's a brand experience.
So I would say, Raghu, the first and foremost, I think consumers are moving, and there is a shift in consumer behavior, both in terms of their expectations and in terms of the various facets of what they want to buy, how they want to buy, the convenience that they want to have in the process. So I think first and foremost, I think progressive retailers and progressive brands are those who will first appreciate that. Because things have moved on, because for the last 5 years, and I'm not just talking about e-commerce here, because that's probably the hot topic, but in various aspects, in the kind of products consumers seek today is very, very different. So I think the customer service that we are talking about, there was a time when customer service was about how great the store staff behaves with the shopper, whether he greets, whether he helps. I think it has gone beyond that, and it is not just about that. And as a brand, we've realized we have a great customer service training and stuff like that, but consumers today seek more than that. First and foremost to that, I would say that a consumer today goes through a process of discovery, experience, commerce, and after sales. A consumer today doesn't walk in and just trade, just buys in, right? A consumer today first discovers what he wants to buy. First, and the way he discovers that can be online, can be with his friends, can be with various media, other platforms of media. So I think progressive retailers, and I'm not talking of online, offline here, progressive brands are those who will understand this consumer journey and make it convenient for me, make information available, whether in the store or outside the store, in different brand platforms. So, I'd like to add to what Kabir said in terms of just the delivery of that product, where the convenience of both information and delivery of the product, they're seeking convenience. So I think this entire experience, it's no longer an offline, online thing, because I think when I have to talk of offline and online, we know globally that both works, and across platforms it works.
Okay.
It works in food, grocery, it works in fashion, it works in luxury. So across the world, offline and online works. It is about brands who will make, and some of the brands will be more offline oriented, some of the brands might be, or a retailer might be online only or an offline only, but it is about enabling the ecosystem of the consumer journey, is what my opinion is. And that for me is the real really enabling customer service today.
Okay. Vishal, I'll come back to you later because I have a separate question for you. But if we just continue with that, so we finished the retailers. So, Vinay, if you can respond.
Yeah, I think, from our perspective, food, grocery, what I'd just like to, the dimension I'd like to add is that from our perspective, we look at it, when we look at customer propositions, we basically look at, we call it the 4 pillars of SPA. And the effort really is to, keep raising the bar on all these 4 pillars. The 4 pillars, as we define them, one is, of course, the service part, which is, when we look at service, we break it up into 3 parts. The one part is the infrastructure, which is, your store layouts, designs, aisle spaces, cash tills, car parking, connectivity, all those things, which is, goes with the experience that the customer has inside your store. And here I'm talking about, at this point, the brick and mortar stores. There is the technology part, which is the one which is really becoming very big now. So when I say technology, it's all about speed, it's about convenience, it's about information, it's about accuracy. And how do you use technology to really raise the bar as far as the experience is concerned. The third part, of course, is staff and service with a smile and staff training, development, all that part. So that's one proposition, which is what we call the service part. There are 3 others. So from our perspective, value or discount is very important. For a food business, for a hypermarket business, it's huge. And within this value space, and when I say value means I'm talking price, I'm talking promotions, I'm talking private labels, and I'm talking loyalty program. So, there is, we keep trying to raise the bar in terms of, each of these elements of value. There is the whole element of choice and what we do around. When I say choice, I'm talking about assortment, I'm talking about how we planogram our stores, how we sort of, set the merchandise in the stores, the fill rates, availability, which is one more proposition. And then, of course, there's the freshness part, which is really about product quality and product freshness. So, for us, it's the 4 pillars. So, it's a question of raising the bar. So when you talk about customer experience, we talk about the 4 pillars. And, it's the expectations just keep going one way. The expectations keep rising as far as customers are concerned. Okay. So, it's really the challenge is how do you find the sweet spot between, these pillars, and how do you keep raising the bar? And this, while at this point we are a brick and mortar business, but we are going to get into the omni-channel space. So, and this will become, this is what the brand stands for. And this is what the brand we expect will deliver as we keep moving forward.
Okay. Moini, can you?
So obviously this is a very important question for brands like us, especially if you play in the premium category. I think this is definitely the case for Indians being more aspirational today and wanting to trade up. And when you want to trade up, you want to buy more and more of premium products, and then you look at the best deal available. And we've debated this internally a fair bit, that what is a deal? Is deal equal to money? Is deal equal to price off? We've conducted what we call A/B experiments in different cities to see, is it price which is a deal? I'm quite happy to say that in our experience, and I must say that we are much smaller than a lot of people here. In our experience, I think the customer is looking for value, but value is not a definition of price only. He's looking at what is the best my money can buy in the aspirational space. So that is, value is equal to price plus experiential touch points, like Vinay just mentioned. And give you a small example, we have our repeat rates are close to 36% in our stores right now. our word of mouth recommendation to Roosh stores, and we measure this, is close to 25% from friends and family right now. So we're finding increasingly that despite being at a premium price point of about 4,000 rupees ASP, most of our customers are actually coming from word of mouth experience that people who've used our products are saying, it's a great product, why don't you go and try it? So definitely price is important, but what you get for that price is equally important. Number one. Number two, I think for us, it's very clear that a premium product is a lot about experience. And we've looked at various elements of experience, which is not just in-store experience, but also after-sale services, or very often products are past their warranty stage. And customers will come back to us and say, can you do something? Soles have come off, can you repair it? And we have a no questions asked policy. I mean, even if it's past warranty, we take it. We actually have something called a customer master in our store. So we take details of all our customers when they walk in, so that you don't have to bring a hard copy of an invoice if you want something done, to your product. So I think all of these elements, the entire gamut of experience, starting from discovering us through communication, through our in-store experience, through our style consultants, who we have trained in consultative selling. It's not hard sell. There are tools. If you've been to any of our stores, we have something called a need assessment tool. It'll help you identify which is the right category that you must buy from. We have a tan and brown guide, which means that a lot of Indian men are uncomfortable wearing tan and brown shoes because they usually have black trousers. So we have a tool that shows them that, hey, you don't have to be worried about it. Please go bindas and buy, a tan shoe and a tan belt. We even today, as recent as 2 months back, have introduced something that we call a swatch book. A lot of gentlemen come to our store and they're like, oh, we really like that product, but we're not very sure if they'll go with all the trousers I have. So we heard that a fair bit, and we actually have gone and we've got swatches about 50 trouser colors, including linen, including chinos that you find in the store. And it's readily available, so a customer does not have to postpone his buying decision. It works for them, it works for us. Mm-hmm. So I think for us, value is important, and value is equal to price come experience. And it's important to pay attention to both. Discount for a premium brand is my personal opinion, and we try and operate that way, could be a customer acquisition tool. It can't be a tool to do business. It can't be a reason to exist. So for example, like every retailer, we have EOSS, which runs twice a year. And yes, we have products which are available on discount, and it gives an opportunity for customers who are a little more price sensitive to come and try a product. So we're very comfortable with that, but it can't just be that. So,
okay. So Vishal, I'm going to come to you now, because you run a very successful mall and you're just about to open a second mall. How do you look at the whole customer experience area? Because strictly speaking, customer experience happens. Part of it is obviously when they enter, how they enter, cleanliness, the toilets, the lighting, air conditioning, etc. But a lot of the experience actually happens in the retail stores. So keeping that in mind, what's your perspective on what we've been discussing?
So I've been a retailer earlier, and now I'm in the shopping center business. So in a way, I'm fortunate enough to combine learnings from both the segments. And finally, we are all here to serve the consumer. So when I started off in retail, I was at Shopper Stop, and our tagline was, feel the experience while you shop. So when I first joined Shopper Stop, I didn't know much about that, and I said, I must discover this. So thanks to the system and the culture that we had in the company, we learned what experience meant to the consumer, what it meant to the business. And I must share an example with you. When we were planning to open our store in Delhi, in Ansal Plaza, in 97, 98, we were doing a survey in the market. And we went to other retailers in South Delhi, and the South Delhi retailers said, okay, I'll share everything with you. But I must tell you one thing, I know you're opening a very big store, etc., but we are going to be ready for you. I'm also renovating my store. I said, fantastic. So from then on to today, the journey has been about reinventing oneself as business environments change, and they present different competitive threats for you. So today's threat for a shopping center is definitely e-commerce. As it is, e-commerce is a wall-less shopping center, and we are confined within the boundaries that we've created for ourselves. Having said that, we have to find our own ways to be able to create that experience that delivers, the wow experience to the consumers. That's the typical statement that we all like to make. One facet that I think Sriram covered in his presentation, and which I completely agree, in fact two. One is about leadership that brings in the culture to be able to deliver that experience. And what is experience? We divide that into two parts. One is the tangible and the other is the intangible experience. Tangible is, in today's time, can be taken from one place and put in your place. That is creating a nice design, a great architectural marvel, and building a great mall or a store. But then what happens after that? After that is really the emotional experience that you deliver to the consumer. That, to my mind, is the icing on the cake. And for every retailer who is actually serving the consumer, for every shopping center who is serving the consumer today, that today, to me, and what is actually the lead subject of discussion is the differentiator in today's times as we are trying to face the threat from e-commerce. And I think e-commerce is a threat that we have to recognize. It's not just a threat that is a fad. And it's a trend that is going to only get bigger and stronger and more profitable also as time goes on. So shopping center developers, shopping center management teams have to figure out a way how to deliver that emotional experience without having control on the shopping experience within retail stores. I think that is a big challenge that we have as shopping center developers, and that is what we are trying to do at Orion Mall. In fact, we believe that we just can't increase the number of customers or footfalls on a day-to-day basis because we don't add that level of population in your catchment. But it's important to ensure that you deliver the experience and the emotional touch to the consumer, so that he or she is able to come back to your destination time and again and spend more. So we try to do as much as we can to that effect. We also interact with retailers to ensure that our plans are more in sync rather than not. And I think last 3 months when everybody was advertising the most in the market, we focused more in providing the experience to the consumer rather than advertising in the market. And as a result, actually, we've seen average spends per customer increasing by almost 50%. And that, to us, is a big learning. And we believe that this is something that we want to work towards building more strongly. Having said that, now the final thing that we all need to understand is that the negative experience that we can deliver, again from Sriram's presentation, that once you build the tangible experience for the consumer, the importance of emotional connect with the consumer becomes very, very important, because in a negative situation, it actually completely wipes off all the investment that you've put into creating that fantastic product, the fantastic destination, due to one person's lack of training or attitude with the consumer. And the consumer will always go back and remember that one experience that actually did not work well with him or her. So I think that is one area I think all of us have been a little guilty of not being investing in, that is uplifting the standard of customer engagement at the lowest level of our shopping experiences, be it a shopping center or a retail store. I think that is something that we need to all work towards building. All of us have done well in our lives, in our careers, but I think the investment to uplift these skill sets, and that will happen provided we are able to really recognize the fact that there is a need to do so, because there is a return that is lying there for you. I don't think that is an expense. Today, if you look at if I look at a retailer who comes to me for a store, there is a standard Excel sheet calculation that he presents. So this is the sale per square foot I'm expecting. This is the rent to sales ratio, and this is my OPEX cost. And OPEX cost obviously includes salaries of staff. And our camp charges also include salaries of staff. But that somewhere is stuck in a zone which has not allowed the system to grow beyond where it has been the last 5 to 10 years. People can argue, no, we are doing this and we are doing that. Even I will argue that. But I don't think we have done substantially more than what we could have done. If you want to uplift the experience of our shopping environments, I think the first investment we have to make, beyond what we are already making, is to uplift the skills and standards of our people who are serving the customers, so that we reduce or try to eliminate negative experiences and enhance the emotional experience, which is really the icing on the cake.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question based on what Vishal said. You know, we all know that service failures are going to happen. However well designed we are to deliver great experiences, service failures will happen. How many of us here have a process to deal with service failure? Do we have a service failure recovery process? Can I just ask everyone? You know, starting with you.
Okay. So like I was sharing with you earlier that when Roost started and we opened our first store 4 years back, we actually started with a 3-member customer experience team. Before even the first store opened, we had 3 members in the team. Yeah. And that was critically because I think we treated ourselves as consumers and we wrote down everything that irritated us about, you know, going to a store and engaging with them. And we found that this was a great opportunity, which I think we should not leave out. So we started with that team, and today I'm at least very, very happy with the level of service that we provide in our stores. As I was sharing with you earlier also, we have all our front-end team members who come down to Bangalore and we train them, and they're trained from 15 days to 21 days in a classroom environment first. They are tested. There is a minimum threshold limit on which they have to perform, else we part ways with them. There is on-the-job training. There is feedback from the store managers who they train under, the buddies, on whether they will be able to fit into what we want. And if they pass all these gates is when they go onto the field. That's just when they go onto the field. Now, if there is a customer complaint that comes, the first port of solution has to be the store because you don't want it to get delayed too much. They are trained on how to handle typical manufacturing defects or problems. If there is an escalation, in the rare case of an irate customer, it comes immediately to the head office, and no less than the head of training picks up the phone and calls the customer. So I think 9 out of 10 times we do a good job. I think the 1 out of 10 time also we slip. But it's very, very important for us. Product is king, I definitely agree, but product can be replicated. I think the service experience is what is our main entry barrier.
Do you have a time limit by which you have to respond to a service failure?
I'm very glad you asked that question. So when we started, it was defined as 5 days for Bangalore, 7 days for outside cities, taking into account courier times. And we did dry runs from all the cities where we were present in, you know, with an average courier company to see, you know, what time we were committing to the customer. Very happy to report that in the last 6 months, we've tried to reduce this time if it has to come back to us. If we can't replace it already, so I'm only talking about that. If we can replace it already, then we do. But if it has to come back to us, then we've reduced this time period from 5 to 3 and from 7 to 5. So happy about that. And I think the most important thing is, let's not look at the number 3 and 5. Is the customer happy with it? He's very happy with it. I mean, very often we have to tell him your product is lying at the store. Can we please come and deliver it? He said, thank you.
Do you have a process?
Yeah, I mean, we do, in terms of, you know, measurement of customer experience, we have a fairly comprehensive set of measures. So there is, you know, the external measures, there are the internal measures. So I think, you know, I'm sure most retailers have it. So we have, you know, there's the mystery audit, which we do at a fairly high frequency, weekday, weekends. So there is a feedback which comes in through that. There are a lot of internal measures. We have a coffee with customer, which is more personalized, and every store has a different set of customers who they call in every month, and there is a discussion on issues, and so it's more informal. It's not so structured. You get feedback on all sorts of issues. There is a lot of internal sort of, you know, internal standards that we've set in terms of things like hygiene, safety, freshness indexes. So there are internal measures for that. There's obviously all the customer feedback mechanisms, you know, things like, you know, we start with the basic form. There are the tablets from which they on the website, they, you know, actually send in complaints and issues. We have a full team which actually manages this process. There is a clear, you know, like a set of benchmarks we have in terms of closure of loop, the question which you asked about how long. So we say that any issue which is raised should be within 48 hours, which is within 2 days, there should be a closure. So the loop should get closed. So I think, I mean, there is a lot of energy, let's say, which is going into that space. there is, I mean, we can see, if you look at the graph, you know, I mean, we can see some progression, but I think there is still a distance to go. And so I think, you know, I mean, each of the areas that I was talking about earlier, there are steps which we are trying to take to see that, you know, those benchmarks we can actually keep sort of raising the bar. So there is a process. I think there is still a distance to go.
So I have a slightly different view. I think everybody has process to manage failure. I mean, to address a complaint rather. But I think the challenge for us is to increase the success rate, to reduce complaints. I think that is a bigger challenge for us. So if you want to really differentiate and find success through service, I think that is, to me, that is the bigger challenge, and that is what we are working at. We all have, you know, standards, processes to respond to customers within 24 hours. And if it's a robbery case, we are actually, we have a cell that takes care of that, you know, solely takes care of that. Lost and found articles, etc. All those things we have processes in place. But like I said, how do we prevent complaints? I think that is an area of focus for us.
So I can tell you from Puma's experience, we have reached where we have reached as a very successful brand over the last 9 years in India. It's been about 9 years since our first store, primarily because we did retail ourselves, to a large extent involved retail. And when I mention this because a lot of brands have taken the franchising route, and you know, and retail was our real peg for success. And when we did that, obviously customer service, failures in customer service, and the entire loop to close that was one of our most important deliverables. So having SLAs around all the processes, and we have a lot of them, was our most important success factor for delivering customer service. Training of staff, hiring, training, retaining was a very, very important element of our retail journey. But I would like to also mention here that one of the biggest challenge today is as brands scale. It's great when you are 10 stores, 15 stores. I had a visibility to this every staff. But when you have 340 stores and you're operating in 115 cities, selling 1.2 crores of product every year, so 1.2 crore purchases happening for the brand in a year. The ability to maintain that level and reduce the failure is very, very, the challenge is much higher because 115 cities for 340 stores. How do you go, you open a store in a C city, you go to a, I don't know, to a Varanasi and open a store. Where do you hire? Because there was a time when we used to open stores in Bangalore and Delhi and say, we will not take the typical route of hiring from another retailer. We will hire someone who's coming from hospitality, train them so the customer service is there and the orientation is there. But you go to a Varanasi and where do you hire from? And where is the pool today? And like he mentioned, how much of the pool never got, it's a chicken and egg story. The pool did not get created because it was not desirable and aspirational to work in retail. And it all starts from that. So the point I'm trying to make is that you can have numerous processes and which we all as global retailers have. The challenge is how do you deliver that when it is scaled, when you have to attend to so many customers across the entire length and breadth of the country. That is the biggest challenge. And how do you deliver consistent experience? I don't have an answer for that, but I can tell you it is very, very challenging.
Yeah, I'll just try and add a new dimension. I'm not in disagreement with whatever has been said. But my feeling is that customer satisfaction gallops much faster than an organization's ability to meet it. So at any point of time, there's always a gap. And I've seen the last 15 years that we've built Lifestyle as a brand, the level of customer dissatisfaction seems to remain the same each year, no matter what you do. But when you look back at what all you've done, how you've moved, and it starts with all the tangibles, you know, your products, and then your exchange services, and your payment methods, and your meet and greet policies. all of those are moving in the right direction. Everything is getting relatively better. But no matter what you do, consumers aren't fully satisfied. So to that extent, I feel that customer satisfaction is a bit of a utopian concept, and organizations need to feel comfortable with the fact that you'll never ever be perfect. And we took some initiatives which actually went against normal intuition. About 4 or 5 years back, we thought that we should actually reduce the number of staff that we have in our stores. We felt that just by having too many people is actually not going to increase either staff engagement or consumer engagement. So when we did that, actually, consumers found it more comfortable to probably go and reach shelves which had product on them by themselves. And what feedback we get today is that consumers still find a missing size far more irritating than being compensated with a sweet smile. So the reality is that consumers seem to put a lot more weight on still the tangibles, that is the product, the availability, the ease of finding it, the way they flow through the stores, the way you communicate in the stores. It appears to me that that's one way of actually mitigating this challenge that Abhishek was talking about, because if you go down that path of trying to meet 100% of consumers' service level expectation, I think you're going to fail. So it's probably easier to focus on the tangibles, and product and convenience is what I would suggest organizations need to focus more on.
Okay. I have one last set of questions for the panel, and then I'll hand it back to Sriram for any follow-up or questions or comments, and then we'll open it out to the audience for questions. So, we'll go back in this order again, starting with you, Kabir. As somebody who's heading a very large and very successful business, can you possibly quantify what value you're getting out of providing this service, the customer experience? What are the sort of business decisions that you think you would be taking in this context, and how is this communicated down the organization, right down to the last person on the shop floor?
Yeah, well, I think it's difficult to say what value we are getting. I think probably the only way to measure this is sales and profitable sales growth and profit growth. So I think, touch wood, we are comfortable with those aspects. As a business, we've got 3 verticals now. We've got Lifestyle, Home Center, and Max, and all 3 of them have been on double-digit like-for-like growth for the last 3-4 years. Each vertical is profitable. So I guess that's starting off with the result. But coming back to the second part of your question, which I think is more important, is we try and create a culture where we encourage people to take decisions using good judgment. We are not extremely SOP driven. So for example, how much time should you take to actually respond to a customer? When you start defining it, then for certain issues which should take 2 hours, and if you've defined it as not more than 3 days, people actually say it's fine if you do it in 2.5 days, whereas probably some issues should have been dealt in 2 hours. Whereas there are some issues which can possibly take 15 days, and if somebody actually solves that or addresses a customer issue in 12 days, I would still say it's a job well done. So I think when you start over-defining how human beings should behave with other human beings, that's the start point of trouble. So what we do is we empower our people, saying, please, you're trusted, please use good judgment, use common sense, and don't fear, because we're not looking for 100% customer satisfaction. In fact, we don't talk about customer delight at all, because I think if organizations start actually believing they can achieve it, it's going to mean a contradiction in terms. Mm-hmm. And one more piece of data, Raghu, that our best stores continue to deliver the lowest rankings in customer service. So I don't know what comes first. I mean, so when a store is new, the service levels seem to be really good, and then it keeps dropping, but the sales keeps increasing. And again, intuition will tell you that if your service levels keeps dropping, well, you know, poor sales is just around the corner. Now we've got stores which are in the 10th year of operation and still growing. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think using too much of theory for customer service is not really a solution. One can be relaxed, one can be natural, one can be human. And as long as one creates this culture of trust, I think one will see light at the end of the day.
So basically you're saying it's a culture issue more than anything
Absolutely.
else. Yeah.
So one point that I take a leaf out of Kabir is that I completely agree that customer service cannot be mechanical. You can have as many SLAs as possible, as many SOPs as possible, but if the guy is just not interested, he will not deliver the experience to the consumer. That's first and foremost. And I think at the end of the day, a consumer is seeking a value proposition, and to deliver that, it is not about, the guy has to be motivated to do that. Mm-hmm. One more point I would like to say is that while all of us have our point of views on this, it really depends. Retail is a very, very broad word. Today, it's not one size fit all. And for a departmental store, for a hypermarket, for a brand, there is a different expectation from the consumer and a different brand proposition or a retail proposition as well. So for a luxury brand, it will be different. For a sports premium brand, it is different. For us, experience is important, very, very important. And I'll give you examples of, how sales and experience have been important and how human element that we are talking about is important. There are stores of ours which we have a customer database with 1.6 million for a brand of our scale. That's pretty large, and we've been building this through the years, and we do a pretty decent job in customer relationship management. However, our best customer experiences are people where they maintain their own customer database, and these are all fashion consultants and staff that they maintain the database of their customers. And if there is any new product which is worth that customer to see, they call up and get the guy in. The relationship is such that these guys get called for parties, marriages, and whatnot. There are examples in which I can think of a store in, that time we did not have a store in Bhubaneswar. There was a guy who used to come to Bhubaneswar to South City, Calcutta, and buy products. He would go back. There was one staff he trusted. Anytime a new product which was similar to the taste of the guy would come in, and this is like e-commerce in making, he would click the picture, send him photographs on email, the guy would deposit money on the account of the store, and this guy would courier it. So this cannot be met by any kind of SOPs, analytics, and stuff. This is beyond. But I must say that it also depends on the kind of retail that you are running. And it is not something which is one size fit all.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So I think leadership and culture are the most important facets of defining experience and delivering experience. Having said that, I think the point that is not getting sufficient importance today is really the retail employees who are serving the consumers. I would like everybody to think back 10 years back from now, where we all were in terms of our positions in our companies, and what were we earning that time, how are we placed financially, socially, and how the entry level or the slightly higher level of retail employees were positioned. And let's look at ourselves now, where we stand, and where that same level of a person stands today, after 10 years. Or maybe, is the growth the same for us and for the retail employee at the lower levels? Have we been able to deliver sufficient growth to that employee? Why I'm asking this question is because we have very high expectations out of that employee serving the consumer. But how much are we investing in that person in trying to uplift his life from where he is or she is today? Can we sort of help them create some aspirations? We are trying to create profitable companies. We're all struggling to do that. But yet we are rewarding ourselves pretty well. But we are not investing thoroughly well in the people who actually matter, who are serving consumers and getting business for us. I think that is one very important facet that we have somehow missed out in all our plans that we have made. Like I said, it's just an Excel calculation. It comes back to all about India, actually. I feel that the service element is so important because India is a service-driven economy. And somehow this service factor is getting linked to everything else except for how the employee who is serving the consumer feels. So the development of the country is not a GDP development, right? It cannot, a third world country like ours cannot have just a GDP development without having a social development index. We can't grow the country, we can't create consumers, a large consumer base without actually growing the social economic status of the people. So I think, and changing the mindsets as to how, what the customer means to them. In every interaction, how should I dress, how should I meet and greet the customer? Meet and greet is not a training requirement. It is my hygiene, it's my nature, it is my culture, it's what I have to do. And I'm motivated enough to do, my company takes care of me, I have a future to look forward to. I think these are the things that we have to really invest in. Experience in tangibles is the most easiest thing to do today because there's a lot of skills available there. There's a lot of consultancy firms available to create those things. But in a country like ours, the challenge really is to lift the people who are actually serving the consumers and deliver the experience that we wish to deliver to the consumers. When we create those kind of spaces to deliver which aspire to deliver an experience to the consumer. And I think that is what I wanted to focus on in this answer to you, Raghu.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I think the hypermarket space is concerned, from our brand perspective, I mean, my belief is that first of all, to meet customer expectation, we should be available across channels. So I think, that is what, an immediate priority would be. Coming more into the specifics, I talked about the 4 pillars. For us, in our business, we sell many categories. There is fresh food, there is, FMCG, there is clothes, there is electronics. So it's a vast assortment of products that we sell. A lot of SKUs. It's a complex business. And I believe that, and we got to keep raising the bar on those 4 pillars. So, whether it is value or it is choice or it is, freshness or it is service. And so, in my view, the biggest driver is going to be technology. So it's really going to be technology that is going to drive, the improvements as we go forward. And when I say technology means, 3-4 critical things. One is, of course, the ERP. I think the ERP plays a very, very crucial role. From our perspective, we've just gone in for a very state-of-the-art ERP. It's made a huge difference. It links all these many, many chains, right from vendor to your distribution center, logistics, stores, customers, everybody. There is data, because we generate so much of data, from our point of sale, from our loyalty programs, from our, if you get into the online side, then, all the online, transactions which happen. So all this data, I think, we've got to become far more data-driven. Data is going to be the biggest driver of service, of top line or bottom line. And, how we use that is going to be very, very crucial. So within the stores, if you look at the brick and mortar format, there's a whole lot of stuff happening in terms of, in-store digital technologies which are coming in where, to improve the sort of the interaction with customers from a store service point of view in terms of staff, the handheld, the terminals, which improves, their speed, their accuracy, the inventory, all those aspects. There's the whole sort of IoT, the internet, the features which are coming in now in terms of sensors, beacons, where you can actually make the experience, you can get far more into the whole thing about proximity marketing. When somebody is inside your store, how do you get to know more about the customer? How do you see that there is a greater interaction happening? How do you learn more? So, my belief is that going forward, from our perspective, technology is really going to be the biggest driver for improving overall service levels.
If the question is, can you really measure tangibly the results of customer service? I think very clearly. again, I shared some data points and I can repeat them. Like I said, the word of mouth recommendation, so we know exactly which customer has come because of whom. It's repeat rates, we measure repeat rates and we know how much revenue we're getting per month from our repeat customers. I'll give you another data point. We don't have a CRM program, but what we do is we email our customers about a new service launch twice a year. And when we send out these emailers, the open rate of our emailers are amongst the highest in retail in India, we've been told. So I think service experience is quite measurable, and there are various ways to measure it for sure. How do you impact, how do you improve service levels is something that everyone touched upon. And I think the answer to that, like everybody said, and I don't think there's any debate in that, it's holistic. You need to look at what is the capability of the person that you're hiring. Are you training them right? And training them is also about, are they a part of your culture? Are you hiring people who are intrinsically interested in interacting with other people? Are you hiring people only because, that's the lowest paid person that you got? So yes, hiring is important. Aligning them to customer values is important. Giving them a guideline on how to go about solving a customer problem is critical. I do not think it can be done without. It's very, very important. And at the end of the day, I would just like to say that when you go to the washroom in Bangalore airport, nobody talks to you in English. You usually have ladies who talk to you in Kannada, or some of them will know Hindi. And if you're a traveler, and I go between Bombay, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Delhi a fair bit, I just find that the staff in the Bangalore airport in the ladies' washroom is just brilliant, and they don't speak a word of English. But they're extremely dedicated, they're extremely committed. And one day I happened to ask one of them, who looked like a little senior and a supervisor, saying, who helps you, and who guides you in what you need to do? And they said that, जैसा घर रखते हैं, वैसा ही यहाँ पे भी काम करते हैं. And I think that was a good hiring decision. So yes, SOPs are great, alignment modules are important, but hiring is equally important.
Okay, so I think in the interest of time, because we're coming close to the end of the session, maybe we'll open it out to the floor if there are questions, then I'll hand it back to Sriram.
Can you just introduce yourself and then? Thank you. And if there's a specific person you want to address it to, please point out.
My name is Anik Banerjee. I'm the chief business creator for a company called Ripple Fragrances. My question is, there are two questions. One is to you give the presentation. See, customer experience, as Mr. Kabir Mulchandan has said, you don't know what is customer experience. So there's a lot of things in the mind. So is in your chart of what constitutes good customer experience, would you also include marketing communication as a very important tool for retailers to create a customer experience? Because everything is in the mind, like you build a brand. And secondly, I would like to ask lady from Roche, how exactly do you measure this? You said word of mouth recommendations.
Yeah, let me answer first. Yes, all touch points that your customers engage with you are very critical when it comes to how you want to deliver your experience to them. So communication is a critical element of the experience that you want to deliver. But of course, you want to also prioritize them. If you have customer touch points of, let's say, 8 or 10 in number, you want to ask which is the most important. And we had Kabir saying that product is the most important, right? If customers don't find the product, it doesn't matter what the communication was, they're not going to be happy. So you need to prioritize for your organization based on your customers and their needs. What is number one? And you need to figure out how to focus on delivering on that.
Amit, your question was, how do we measure recommendations from friends and family? So at our stores currently, we would love to introduce this with our large format partners also. But at our stores currently, we have something called a customer information card. So when you would come for billing, this card would be given to you, and we capture this information which says, how did you hear about us? And that information feeds back into our customer master, which of course is linked to our POS. So we know how many people came to us because of her recommendation.
Okay. Yep. Over there.
Hello. Hi. I would like to share my experience as a customer to Rouge. About a fortnight back, I just went to one of their shop outlet, and I was selecting shoes. I just got married 10 days back, so it was just a reason to shop. But I was confused with many of the known brands, and Rouge was a little bit of an unknown brand to me. And I selected few shoes, and I was confused which to choose, but Rouge was not in my selection that time. But as a last point of sale person, he came with the Rouge shoes and made me buy, and realized me that if I don't buy Rouge, it would be a big loss to me.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Gaurav. Since we are talking about customer experience measurement, what is the opinion of, I mean, it can be answered by anyone in the panel, the Net Promoter Score. Does it really hold value in the current scenario these days?
By Net Promoter Score, you mean the rating of the staff? How well they're doing?
No, so how likely is the customer to recommend your product to somebody else? So is it being really measured these days, or, I mean, theoretically, this is some concept which
at least we don't measure how likely you are to recommend Rouge. We don't measure that yet.
You can just ask one of your customers who is here, how likely are you to recommend Rouge on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being, yes, I will highly recommend. 1 is, no, I'm never going to recommend.
10.
All right, there you have your NPS.
Thank you. And I'm going to video record that and share it with my team. It's very inspiring. We make a lot of mistakes in what we do. We really, really do. But it's motivating to hear positive stories also. Thank you.
I'll just like to share. When I was getting married, those who are close to me, everybody asked me which shoes is and what brand is, and I recommended on the stage only.
The challenge, however, is now that he is married, I don't think he's going to decide which shoes he's wearing.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm from Vedant Fashions Private Limited. We own the brand Manyavar. As mentioned by one of the panelists, he asked that, you know, we expect a lot from our service people at the shop floor level, but do we actually see their growth? So I would just like to share one experience of our brand. At one of our retail outlets, around about 8 o'clock in the evening when the store was about to close, a customer entered and he was not like a proper well-dressed, and the staff was in the mood to close the store. So none of the staff showed much interest. There was this peon who was always very enthusiastic, and he took up that opportunity and he actually dealt with the customer. And that customer actually had come for a bulk purchase for some marriage, and he purchased an outfit, a lot of outfits for about more than ₹1,00,000, which was a very great experience which our company recognized. And today, that person is the store manager of that particular outlet, and he's running it pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no further questions, I'll hand it back to Sriram to wrap up.
You know, I would like to end by urging all of you, and we heard many of the people talk about, you know, how service, and especially the front-end service, especially Vishal talked a lot about it, how it's important for us to recognize the people who are delivering great service and what we can do to uplift them. Now, we have Nagesh here in the audience, you know, Train Awards. I would urge all of you to actually recommend your people who deliver fabulous service. I think the closing date has been extended. So I think it's really important for us to, we have a great forum for us to actually help recognize people who are delivering wonderful service and to be able to recognize and reward them. So on that note, I would like to thank our panel and wish all of you a wonderful year ahead. Thank you.